So this video refers to how we should treat and use our bodies. The topics that are studied in here are drugs, food, and alcohol. All right, so let's get straight into it. When it comes to drugs, you'll need to know need to know how to describe or explain the reasons why someone uses drugs. Okay, so the first reason would be experimental. All right, some people use drugs to see what they like. The next one is recreational. So some drugs are used in a social setting to help people relax, have fun, etc. Okay. The next one is experiential. All right, so that some drugs are used because of the effect that they have on us. So it could be make us feel calmer, make us feel like we have more energy. Okay, people want it because they want their experiences alter. And the final one is addiction. So some drug users are dependent on using drugs. Okay, and without them, they cease to function properly. All right, so addiction is the fourth and final reason for you to be able to remember. Now, when it comes to Catholic views on the use of drugs, now this is referring almost primarily to non-medical drugs. But if you want to make the point that the Catholics are okay with drugs being used for medical purposes, all right, then that's okay. All right. But the main sort of part of this, like I said, focuses on the use of or misuse of drugs, if you want, okay, if you're using them for non-medical reasons. So Catholics are almost primarily against the use of drugs, and the reason for this is that life is a gift from God, so therefore should be treated with respect. Okay, so the Catechism and St. Paul both teach of how life is a gift from God, okay, and that it's sacred. The other one is the fact that using drugs affects our judgment, all right, which could cause us to make bad decisions, all right, which will upset God, could lead to sinful actions, or could lead to us not fulfilling the plan that God has intended for us. So you could use the parable of the talents to back that up, okay, about the fact that God has given us all, made us all unique and given us specific gifts and talents to be able to carry out his work. So misusing drugs and becoming addicted to them or whatever, that this can have an impact on how we carry out God's plan. The other one is the fact that another reason is that our lives are sacred and that God is within us. We're a temple of the Holy Spirit, so therefore we should value and protect our bodies, not damage them through the use of or the misuse of drugs. Also, at the same time, as human beings, and this links with all the answers here with drugs, alcohol, and food, that we are role models, okay? We are role models for others, and we've got to consider the example that we set for others. Well, misusing drugs would be setting a bad example, and that goes against what Jesus said about how you are light for the world. Let your light shine in front of people. Guide others, okay, that's what he's saying there, and misusing drugs is not fulfilling this. Another one is the fact that misusing drugs is inconsiderate of others, and there's a financial implication of it as well, the high cost of medical care needed to treat us. Now that obviously goes against Jesus' teaching of showing love to others and treating others who wish to be treated, and also you could link it to the parable of the sheep and the goats, about how Jesus said we must prioritize helping those who are sick and needy. Well, if we are misusing drugs and medical care is being given to us, it could have been given to people who are suffering from diseases or whatever that are of no fault of their own. So Catholics would say that we shouldn't misuse drugs for that reason. I mean, we shouldn't get in the way or provide any financial implications that could be used to help those who are truly in need. Now, if you get asked, all right, an evaluation question on this about a person should never abuse drugs, then all you do is use those points, okay? You use those points and you turn them into peat paragraphs, all right? The two I think are probably the most straightforward. The fact that life is a gift from God, is sacred, and he dwells within us, so we should treat our bodies with respect. And the other one I think is the easiest one, is that it can affect our judgment, so therefore we don't carry out God's plan, and link that with the parable of the talents. All right, so, and sort of, if you're struggling a bit with talking about the impact of this, then I think it's quite easy. Therefore, Catholics shouldn't damage their bodies. They should promote leading a clean and healthy lifestyle. They should set a positive, sort of a positive example to others, and avoid misusing drugs, or support initiatives that go against drug abuse. Okay, so those are sort of the impacts you can use. Now, when it comes to reasons why people say we should be allowed to use drugs, then you're back to the idea of the fact that we are autonomous, all right, and we can make our own decisions. Now, this is because God has given us all free will, all right, so therefore these people would say that using drugs can be justifiable for experiential or recreational reasons, all right, so it's our decision, so we should be allowed to do what we want. That's sort of the crux of that argument. The other one that you can say here is that drug abuse affects primarily the person who is abusing drugs, so therefore they're the only ones who are truly affected. So if they are choosing to affect their own bodies, affect their own lives, then that's down to them. All right, that's nobody that is their decision to make. And the reason for that is, as I said, it's they're damaging themselves and not others. All right, so that would be the second paragraph to focus on. Now, when it comes to food, a lot of the ideas here are very similar, so that's why they're all together in this video. So Catholic views on the consumption of food, all right, that it's the same idea of how life is a gift from God, should be treated with respect, all right, and therefore if we are misusing food or over consuming food would be a better way to phrase it, that this goes against the fact that it can cause us health risks, that kind of idea, and we're not really valuing our life as much as we should. Another thing is the fact that overconsumption of food may prohibit us from carrying out God's plan. See how this is linking with the same answer with drugs? With your revision, you need to be able to make it a bit more manageable, link these ideas together, link the teachings together, because it'll help you. So how it might stand in the way of us carrying out God's plans, the fact that it may cause, like I said, health risks, or it may stop us from being able to, be as mobile as possible, and God may have given us a specific gift or talent linked to linked to being able to carry out His work that is physical, all right, and overconsumption of food may prohibit us from doing that. And again, you can link that to the parable of the talents. The fact that our lives are sacred, we're temples of the Holy Spirit, we should treat them with respect. The idea of being a role model. Jesus said you are the light for the world, let your light shine in front of people. Well, overconsumption of food is making us not a very good role model for our health, so therefore we're not fulfilling that teaching. The other one is, once again, we shouldn't overconsume foods. It's inconsiderate of others, particularly in the developing world, who may not have access to food or have access to food as readily as we do, so that we can overconsume it. But also the high cost of medical care. Okay, so that if we didn't overconsume food, then a lot of the health risks that come with that could be avoided, so that medical care and financial sort of input into healthcare could be prioritized for those who are most in need. Okay, the most needy and the ones who are sick for causes that are not their own. And I suppose you can support that with the idea promoted in the parable of the sheep and the goats. When it's explained why a Catholic should not overconsume food, be obese, guys, you're just using the exact same answers. You just turn it into Pete paragraphs, okay? The reason why it's not important to not overconsume food, so the alternative sort of side of this, you're back to those same ideas about the fact that human beings are autonomous, we have free will, so we should be allowed to choose whatever we wish. And the other one is the fact that the choices in life, they are going to affect you personally. If you're the one who's over-consuming food and that leads to, some sort of a heart risk, then it's your life that's going to be damaged and nobody else's. So therefore, if you're going to live that way, then it's you who's going to suffer, and you're making that decision. It's down to you. Nobody else should be allowed to tell you if you are or you aren't going to do that. Now, Alcohol, all right, that the Catholic view, the Catholic stance on alcohol consumption, okay, is this one's is slightly different when it comes to sort of overconsumption of food and drugs, okay. It's a little bit more leniency, okay, with regards to this, because consuming alcohol, so this is the first point, I suppose, if you get asked to describe or explain the Catholic stance on alcohol consumption, that consuming alcohol is not forbidden by the Catholic Church, all right. So the reason for this is, well, there's lots of reasons, all right, that I suppose the main one being that it's used in mass. Okay, it's used in mass, so it's acceptable, all right, if the church is using it. Catholics believe the second point is the fact that it's okay in moderation, that is taught by the modern church, all right, and Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, all right, at a wedding. So maybe this suggests that alcohol can be used, as I said, in moderation, in, for example, the celebrations. But also at the same time, okay, if we think about alcohol, we think about alcohol abuse as well. And you're back to those ideas now, once again, about food consumption and about food consumption and drugs. So you can talk there about the fact that you shouldn't, it's called life is a gift from God, so you should protect your body, all life is sacred, we're supposed to be role models, and those kind of ideas. One thing I will add as well is that when it comes to drunkenness, all right, that St. Paul taught that drunkenness is sinful. Okay, so that's a really good one to be able to include in your answer as well. The fact that moderation, okay, drinking alcohol in moderation is okay, but that it's sinful if it's alcohol abuse, if you want to, that drunkenness is sinful. Now, the evaluation question: Catholics should not consume alcohol. Now, if you're going to agree with that answer, then you just use those points that I've just told you, all right? The fact that it can be sinful, being drunk, all right? Drunkenness is sinful. The second paragraph could be focused on the fact that we're supposed to be role models for others. The other one could, I mean, if you don't want to use that one, you could talk about the fact that our bodies, it was called our lives are sacred, and our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, so we should look after them. The kind of impacts that you're going to talk about when it comes to this, it could be that these Catholics would support drink away, so the drink away movement, whatever, that the UK has, all right, that talks about consuming alcohol, but in a responsible manner, all right, that some Catholics, if they feel it is sinful, some of them abstain or only consume alcohol on sort of rare occasions. When it comes to the other point of view about how Catholics feel that consuming alcohol is okay, then you can talk about the ideas that, once again, I've already shared about the fact that Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, and you can also talk about the fact that that it's in church, okay, that during Mass that alcohol is used, and at the same time you can talk about how Jesus himself is pictured consuming wine in art, and talk about the Last Supper, all right, as well. So you've got lots of ideas there to say that, okay, alcohol can be okay, but you've got to talk about moderation, all right. And that's what the second point is there then, really, as well, is the fact. So the first one's about how Jesus himself consumed alcohol, all right, and now the church says it's okay at the same time. But the second paragraph is that alcohol is okay in moderation, all right? And the reason for that is that it's drunkenness that is sinful, okay? But not drinking alcohol in moderation. And that's what the modern day church teaches as well, all right? So the impact of that is that they feel that you can consume alcohol, but you shouldn't drink to excess.